Tasha clutched her small handbag tightly as she looked around the crowded airport terminal. Her eyes scanned for a place to sit, but every bench was taken. She had just arrived from her last cleaning shift, exhausted and dressed in faded jeans and an old t-shirt. As she finally found an empty seat and sat down with a sigh, she noticed an elderly woman standing nearby, wobbling slightly from the weight of her carry-on. Without hesitation, Tasha stood up and smiled warmly. "Ma'am, please take my seat," Tasha offered kindly. The old woman looked surprised but grateful, lowering herself gently onto the bench. "Thank you, dear," she said, patting Tasha's hand. Tasha nodded and leaned against a pillar instead, ignoring the ache in her legs. What she didn't know was that a sharply dressed man in sunglasses had witnessed the entire scene from behind a newspaper. He lowered it slightly, eyes fixed on Tasha with quiet intrigue. The man was none other than Jalen, one of the most elusive billionaires in the business world. Known for being ruthless in boardrooms but private in real life, he was only at the airport that day to pick up his mother discreetly. He had expected another mundane day until he saw this girl, young, poor, clearly struggling, yet still selfless enough to offer his mother a seat. That small act stirred something in his chest. Jalen followed the two women discreetly. His mother, Evelyn, struck up a conversation with Tasha as they waited for their respective flights. "What's your name, darling?" Evelyn asked. "Tasha." "I was just heading home, but I guess my flight got delayed," she replied with a gentle smile. Her voice was soft, but there was a weight behind it. A story untold. Evelyn noticed the frayed edges of Tasha's clothes and the way her shoes had been worn down to the soles. But Tasha wasn't begging or seeking pity, she was content, even grateful, despite clearly having little. "The world needs more people like you," Evelyn said softly. Tasha just shrugged. "I believe kindness doesn't cost anything." Jalen heard every word, and it struck him like thunder. He wasn't used to people like her. Later, Evelyn insisted Tasha take her sandwich, saying she wasn't hungry. Tasha resisted, but Evelyn smiled, "Just think of it as returning the favor." Tasha accepted it with gratitude. Meanwhile, Jalen made a quiet phone call. Find out everything about a girl named Tasha, early 20s, just offered a seat to an elderly woman in Terminal B. "I want details fast." His assistant was confused but didn't question his boss. Tasha's flight finally arrived. She waved goodbye to Evelyn and left without looking back, completely unaware of the storm she had just stepped into. Jalen helped his mother with her luggage and walked her to the car. "You liked her," he said. Evelyn nodded with a smile. "She reminded me of myself when I had nothing." That one sentence stayed with him long after they left the airport. Meanwhile, Tasha got home to her small one-room apartment, greeted by a leaking ceiling and unpaid bills stacked on the table. She sighed and changed into her only nightgown. Her life had been a cycle of struggle, working 3 jobs, no family, barely enough to survive. Yet she remained kind, hopeful, and strong. Her only dream was to someday open a small salon of her own. The next morning, Jalen's assistant handed him a file. "She's clean. No criminal record, works as a cleaner at 2 companies, volunteers sometimes at the salon across the street from her apartment. Lives alone. Parents died years ago. No debts, surprisingly." Jalen nodded, then stared out his office window. "Tell HR we're hiring a new cleaner. I want her working in my building." Tasha got the call the next day. A high-end company offering a cleaning job at a corporate tower downtown. The pay was better, and it seemed legit. She accepted without hesitation, unaware that the building belonged to the man who had been watching her at the airport. Her first day was smooth. The offices were sleek, and the environment felt like another world. She was assigned to clean the top floors. Only the most trusted cleaners got that privilege. While polishing the elevator mirrors, the doors opened, and she nearly bumped into him. "Sorry, sir," she said quickly, looking down. Jalen looked at her with no recognition on his face. "Be careful," he said coldly and walked past her, though his heart skipped a beat. He wanted to see if she would recognize him. She didn't. Back in his office, Jalen sat at his desk, hands clasped. Why did he care so much about her? She was a stranger. Yet, he found himself watching her on the security monitors, how she treated every floor with care, greeted every receptionist, and never once complained. He smirked to himself. "Let's see how far you'll go, Tasha." Weeks passed, and Tasha remained the same, humble, hardworking, and polite. Jalen started bumping into her more frequently. Sometimes in the elevator, sometimes in the lobby. Every time, he kept his identity hidden. He wanted to know the real her, not the version people show billionaires. Tasha, on the other hand, barely noticed him. Her mind was on survival. One evening, she stayed back late to clean a conference room. Jalen came in, pretending to make a phone call, just to be near her. "You work too hard," he said casually. She smiled. "Hard work pays off. At least, that's what I believe." He raised an eyebrow. "And if it doesn't?" She shrugged. "Then at least I know I tried." That answer gave him chills. That night, Jalen drove home, unable to shake her words. He had been born rich, never had to work for anything. But now, he was curious, what would she do if given the chance? Could someone like her handle wealth, power, or would it break her? He decided to test her even more. The game had just begun. The next morning, Tasha found an envelope under her mop bucket. Inside was a voucher for a full makeover at one of the city's most expensive salons. No note, no name. At first, she thought it was a mistake. But curiosity got the better of her. She booked an appointment for the weekend. The salon staff treated her like royalty, pampering her from head to toe. When she walked out, she didn't recognize herself in the mirror. For the first time, she looked like she belonged among the rich and powerful. She smiled, feeling like Cinderella for a day. But when she returned to work on Monday, she hid her new look under a hoodie and cap. She didn't want anyone thinking she had changed. Jalen saw the difference immediately. The glow in her face, the bounce in her step. He grinned. "She's still the same underneath," he murmured. His plan was working, but he wanted to push further. The next step? A promotion disguised as a favor. He told HR to make her his personal office assistant, only temporarily, of course. When HR called Tasha into the office, she thought she was being fired. Her heart pounded until they explained the new role, assisting the CEO directly for a few weeks while his usual assistant recovered from surgery. She was stunned. "Me? Why me?" she asked. "Your dedication stood out," they said simply. Little did she know, the CEO was the same man she had bumped into more than once. On her first day as the temporary assistant, she knocked gently on the office door. "Come in," Jalen said without looking up. She stepped inside, notebook in hand. The moment he glanced up and saw her, hoodie gone, her real face showing, his breath caught slightly. "You," she said before she could stop herself. He raised an eyebrow. "You remember me?" "The elevator guy," she said awkwardly. Jalen smirked. "I get that a lot." The tension in the room shifted, but he didn't reveal himself. Instead, he handed her a stack of files. "Let's see how well you handle pressure." From that moment, Tasha was juggling his schedule, organizing meetings, and managing tasks far outside her usual job. But she never complained, not even once. Tasha handled everything with grace. Jalen threw challenges her way, and she rose to meet each one. She asked questions when necessary, learned fast, and even caught an error in one of his reports, something none of his previous assistants had ever done. He was impressed, but he didn't show it. Not yet. He wanted to see how far she could go before revealing his hand. One afternoon, he asked her to join him for lunch, strictly work-related, of course. Tasha hesitated, but she accepted. They sat in the executive dining room, surrounded by polished cutlery and soft music. She felt out of place but tried to hide it. Jalen noticed. "Relax. It's just food," he said, though he couldn't stop watching her every move. During their meal, she mentioned a dream she had, to open her own beauty salon someday. "Not a big one. Just something warm and welcoming," she said. He nodded slowly. "What's stopping you?" She laughed softly. "Reality." That answer stayed with him all night. She was strong, but still trapped. He was starting to think he wanted to change that. It was during a company gala that things took a dramatic turn. Tasha had no intention of attending until Jalen personally asked her to come, insisting she help manage behind the scenes. HR handed her a stunning evening gown and professional makeup was sent to her home. She had never looked or felt so glamorous in her entire life. When she walked into the ballroom, the crowd actually turned. People whispered, wondering who the mysterious beauty was. Jalen stood at the far end, drink in hand, eyes locked on her. For a moment, he didn't care who saw. She was radiant. "That's my assistant," he told a curious investor. But when he went to speak with her, someone else got there first. A young executive tried to flirt with her, asking personal questions, making her visibly uncomfortable. Jalen stepped in without hesitation. "She's with me," he said, pulling her aside. Tasha blinked. "You didn't have to, I know," he said, his voice low. "But I wanted to." And in that moment, the air between them changed. After the gala, things shifted. Jalen became quieter around her, more distant in meetings. He was struggling. Feelings he never meant to have were blooming fast. He had seen gold diggers, liars, people who wore masks. But Tasha? She didn't want anything from him. That made her dangerous. And irresistible. Meanwhile, rumors started flying in the office. Who was this girl suddenly so close to the boss? Was she sleeping with him? Was she some secret heiress? Tasha heard the whispers and kept her head down. But inside, she was rattled. She couldn't afford to lose this job, her rent depended on it. One morning, she mustered the courage to confront Jalen. "If me working directly under you is a problem, I'll step down," she said bluntly. He looked up, startled. "You're not going anywhere," he said firmly. "Let people talk." But deep down, he knew he had to make a decision. Was he willing to risk everything for her? The decision came quicker than he expected. His mother, Evelyn, paid him a surprise visit at the office. Tasha greeted her at the lobby, not realizing who she was at first. "Good afternoon, ma'am," she said with a smile. Evelyn's eyes widened. "Tasha?" she said. Recognition dawned. "From the airport?" Tasha blinked in surprise. Evelyn laughed warmly and hugged her. "I always wondered what happened to you." Upstairs, Jalen was pacing in his office when Evelyn walked in. "You didn't tell me she worked here." Jalen looked caught. "You remember her?" Evelyn nodded. "She's the reason I didn't collapse that day. That girl has a golden heart." Later that evening, Evelyn sat her son down. "If you don't want to lose someone real, you better stop hiding who you are," she warned him. Jalen realized she was right. The games, the tests, it was time to come clean. But how would Tasha react once she found out he had been watching her from the start? The truth came out sooner than he planned. Tasha was in the break room when she overheard two senior managers whispering. "That's the girl the CEO met at the airport. He's been testing her for weeks." Her stomach dropped. Her hands trembled as she backed away. She felt used. Betrayed. Lied to. She stormed into Jalen's office. "You knew who I was from the beginning," she said, eyes blazing. He didn't deny it. "Yes. I saw you give up your seat for my mother. I wanted to know who you were." She laughed bitterly. "So, this was all a game? The promotion, the makeover, the kindness?" "No," he said firmly. "It started that way. But it's not anymore." But Tasha wasn't ready to listen. "You played with my life. You're no different from the people who step over me every day." And with that, she walked out, leaving him speechless for the first time in years. Tasha didn't show up to work the next day. Or the day after that. HR called, but she didn't answer. She was too hurt to face him, too humiliated to explain to anyone. She had fallen for him without realizing it, and now she felt like a fool. The dress, the lunches, the long stares, it had all been part of a setup. That's what her mind told her, even if her heart wasn't convinced. Jalen tried calling, texting, even going to her apartment, but she wasn't there. She'd packed a small bag and gone to stay with her friend for a while, needing space. "You're upset because you liked him," her friend said softly. Tasha didn't deny it. "I liked him, but I don't trust him anymore." Trust, for Tasha, was the one thing she guarded fiercely. And now it was shattered. Back at the office, Jalen was losing focus. Meetings ran over. He snapped at staff. His mother confronted him again. "What did you expect? That she'd smile and accept being tested like a science project?" she said bluntly. "If you really want her back, stop thinking like a CEO. Start thinking like a man who made a mistake." Jalen did something completely out of character. He took a break from work. Just one day. Enough time to drive across town to where he knew Tasha's friend lived. When her friend opened the door and saw him, she folded her arms. "You've got nerve coming here," she said. He didn't deny it. "I came to apologize. That's all." Tasha hesitated before coming to the door. The moment she saw him, her heart skipped. But her expression remained cold. "Why are you here?" she asked. To say sorry. To explain. And to ask for another chance. She shook her head. You made me feel like a lab rat. That hurts more than you know. He nodded slowly. I get it. I was wrong. I didn't expect to fall for you, but I did. And now I'm scared that I messed everything up. Tasha's walls were still up, but a small part of her melted. I need time, she whispered. He nodded. I'll wait. And with that, he left, but hope lingered in the air. Tasha returned to work a few days later, but not as Jalen's assistant. She asked to be transferred to a different department. HR agreed without question. Jalen respected her wishes, even though it crushed him. He watched her from afar, silently cheering every small win she had. But he missed her smile. Her laugh. The way she challenged him without fear. Tasha kept her distance. It wasn't easy. Every time she passed him in the hallway, her heart stirred. She caught him staring more than once. But she couldn't forget the betrayal. Not yet. Still, part of her wanted to believe that what they had was real. Her emotions were a storm she couldn't control. Jalen, on the other hand, started making quiet changes. He began mentoring young staff members from lower backgrounds. Promoted deserving interns. But he did it silently, without the spotlight. People noticed, but he never explained why. Only Evelyn knew he was trying to be better, for Tasha. Months passed. Tasha was promoted again, this time as a team lead in her new department. She was thriving. Independent. Focused. But still, something was missing. One day, Evelyn visited her quietly in the office. Mind if we talk? The older woman asked gently. Tasha nodded, caught off guard. They went to a quiet cafe nearby. Evelyn didn't sugarcoat anything. My son messed up. But he's not like most men. He's never looked at anyone the way he looked at you. Tasha sighed. It's not about how he looked at me. It's how he tested me. Like I wasn't worth honesty. Evelyn reached across the table and held her hand. Sometimes, people who've been burned build walls even when they don't need to. Jalen didn't trust easily, but he trusted you. That means something. Tasha blinked back tears. Why are you telling me all this? Evelyn smiled. Because you changed my son. And I'd hate to see that kind of love wasted. That conversation stayed with Tasha for days. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Jalen's face. His smile. His mistakes. His sincerity. She remembered how he never pushed her. How he waited. And how much she had felt for him before everything unraveled. Maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late. On Friday evening, as most staff packed up for the weekend, Tasha found herself walking toward the executive floor. Her heels echoed softly in the hallway. She paused outside his office door, heart racing. Then she knocked. Come in, came his familiar voice. Jalen looked up and froze. Tasha stepped inside. I'm not here to talk about work, she said. His heart skipped. Okay. She took a deep breath. I still don't agree with how you handled things, but I miss you. Silence filled the room. Then Jalen stood and walked toward her. I never stopped missing you, he said softly. And this time, when he reached for her hand, she didn't pull away. That moment in his office changed everything. It wasn't a grand reunion with fireworks, but it was real, honest. They talked for hours, finally sharing everything unsaid. Jalen didn't make excuses. Tasha didn't pretend she wasn't still hurt. But both of them agreed to try again, slowly. No titles. No games. Just them. They kept it private. No hand-holding in corridors or stolen glances in meetings. But those closest to them noticed the subtle change, Jalen smiling more. Tasha humming at her desk. Their bond was rebuilding, piece by piece. Trust, once broken, doesn't return all at once, but it was on its way. Meanwhile, Evelyn watched from the sidelines with quiet satisfaction. She had always known her son needed someone like Tasha, not just for love, but for balance. And seeing them together again reminded her why she gave up that seat in the first place. It wasn't just kindness. It was fate pulling strings. The office was buzzing with rumors about an upcoming executive dinner, a strictly invite-only event. To everyone's surprise, Tasha's name appeared on the guest list. Many whispered, assuming favoritism, but Tasha kept her head high. She had earned her place, and she knew it. At the dinner, she wore a stunning but simple dress, intentionally not too flashy. Jalen, in his tailored suit, couldn't take his eyes off her. Throughout the evening, they spoke to others, but their energy pulled them together like magnets. It wasn't loud or showy, but people noticed. At one point, Jalen stepped aside with her on the terrace. "This is our first real night out," he said. "Feels surreal." Tasha smiled. "Feels earned." He reached for her hand, and she let him. The skyline behind them sparkled, but nothing outshined the moment between them. It was quiet, deep, and full of possibilities. The next few weeks were peaceful. Until a storm arrived in the form of Veronica, the ex. She had heard of Jalen's new affair with a former cleaner, and she was not amused. She showed up at the company under the guise of a business proposal, but everyone knew better. She waited in Jalen's office uninvited, legs crossed, voice sharp. "So this is what you've been reduced to?" she sneered. "A girl from the airport? What would your father say?" Jalen's eyes darkened. "My father would say I finally found someone who sees me, not my money." Unfortunately, Tasha walked in at the worst moment. She saw them talking and froze. Veronica smiled, dripping venom. "Oh look. She even brings coffee now. How sweet." Tasha turned to leave, but Jalen caught her wrist. "Don't walk away because of her," he said gently. "You're the only one I want standing beside me." That was all Veronica needed to hear before storming out, defeated. After the Veronica drama, Jalen knew it was time to officially define what they were. One evening, he invited Tasha to his home for dinner, not a mansion showcase, just a private, candlelit setting. She hesitated at first, worried it might be too much, but eventually agreed. The evening was intimate. Jalen cooked, badly, but she appreciated the effort. They talked about their childhoods, their fears, and what love meant to them now. Tasha opened up about never feeling truly safe with anyone. Jalen admitted that power had always come easier than emotion for him. As they sat under the stars on his balcony, he turned to her. "Tasha, I don't care what job you had before, what anyone says, or what your past looked like. I see you. That's all I need." She looked at him, tears in her eyes. "Then let's stop hiding," she whispered. Let's live out loud. The next day, they walked into the office, together. Hand in hand. Staff froze. Gasps. A dropped coffee cup. But Jalen didn't flinch. Yes, he said simply. She's with me. Tasha kept her head high. She had earned her respect, and she would never let anyone take that away. Reactions were mixed. Some applauded. Others whispered behind her back. But the gossip died down quickly when Tasha continued to deliver outstanding work. No one could deny she belonged there. She wasn't riding anyone's coattails, she was paving her own lane. Later that week, Jalen's board members called a private meeting. This relationship might affect your judgment, one of them warned. But Jalen didn't blink. What affects my judgment is pretending I'm someone I'm not. If this company can't accept that, then maybe I need to rethink who's sitting at this table. Silence followed, but no one dared challenge him again. For the first time in years, Jalen's life felt whole. But life has a way of testing happiness. News broke online, an anonymous article exposing Tasha's past as a cleaner, suggesting she seduced her way to power. The internet exploded. Photos, twisted stories, all aimed to shame her. Tasha was devastated. She tried to act strong, but the words cut deep. Maybe I shouldn't have come back to you, she said one night, her voice trembling. They're tearing me apart. Jalen held her close. Then let them. Because I'm not letting go. Not now. Not ever. The next day, he held a press conference, not for the company, but for her. That woman gave her seat to my mother in an airport. She didn't know who we were. She was kind because that's who she is. If you want to attack someone, attack me. But don't touch her. That speech went viral. The internet turned in her favor. Tasha went from cleaner to national sweetheart overnight. The world now knew her story, but not her heart. Tasha remained humble. She continued to work, ignoring the cameras and attention. When asked for interviews, she declined. This was never about fame, she told Jalen. I just wanted to live a decent life. Still, their relationship blossomed under the spotlight. Magazine covers, blog articles, admiration from strangers. Jalen remained by her side, proud and protective. For once, his empire didn't feel lonely. It felt alive. But in the background, someone wasn't celebrating. Veronica wasn't done yet. Jealousy had curdled into something darker. And she was about to make her final move, a plan so dangerous, it could destroy everything Tasha and Jalen had built. Veronica had friends in high places, and dirty connections in even lower ones. She hired someone to dig deeper into Tasha's past. Not to find truth, but to fabricate shame. A forged police report surfaced online, falsely accusing Tasha of theft in her younger years. It spread like wildfire. Blogs reposted it. Some news outlets ran it without checking. Tasha's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Jalen's PR team worked around the clock, but the damage was being done. Whispers returned to the office. Trust was shaking again. Tasha sat quietly in the corner of her apartment, eyes blank. They'll never let me live in peace, Jalen. No matter what I do, it's never enough. Jalen took her hand firmly. Then we fight. Together. No more hiding. No more silence. This time, he was ready to burn down anything that came for her. Jalen launched a private investigation to trace the fake report. It didn't take long to find the source. A tabloid had been paid a large sum by an anonymous donor, but the money trail led back to Veronica. Jalen's lawyers moved fast. Within days, Veronica was served. Defamation, slander, harassment. The news broke, and public sympathy swung back to Tasha. Veronica tried to deny it, but her voice was lost in the uproar. The media tore her apart for her obsession and malice. Tasha, however, didn't gloat. "I don't want her destroyed," she told Jalen. "I just want peace." But it was too late for kindness. Veronica's career began to crumble. Clients pulled back. Friends vanished. And Jalen made sure she never came near them again. The storm passed. What remained was something stronger than love, loyalty, forged in fire. Jalen and Tasha stood side by side, no longer just lovers, but partners in every way. The company thrived under their leadership. Respect replaced suspicion. Evelyn watched them from a distance, beaming with pride. Her simple act of giving up a seat had led to all this. She often joked, "Best decision I ever made, and my back still hurts from it." Tasha laughed every time, knowing that moment changed her life. But not all was smooth sailing. One morning, Tasha woke up dizzy. Nauseous. She brushed it off as stress, but a test confirmed the truth. She was pregnant. And everything was about to change again. Tasha stared at the test result, her mind racing. She hadn't even told Jalen yet. Would he be thrilled? Scared? Both? She needed time to process, but secrets never last long in their world. Jalen noticed her quietness immediately. At dinner, he gently asked, "Is something wrong?" She hesitated, then slid the test across the table. He picked it up and froze. His eyes widened, and slowly, a smile stretched across his face. "Are you serious?" She nodded, tears welling. "We're having a baby, Jalen." He rushed over and pulled her into his arms. "This baby will never know pain. Never know rejection. Only love." For the first time in a long time, Tasha felt safe in her future. News of the pregnancy brought mixed reactions. Evelyn cried tears of joy. Staff at the company congratulated her. But the media circled like vultures again, wanting every detail. Paparazzi followed her around, invading her privacy. It was exhausting. Jalen amped up security and put out a statement, "This is a private moment. Respect it." But not everyone listened. One morning, Tasha was nearly pushed by a journalist trying to get a photo. Jalen was livid. "That's it. No more public appearances," he declared. Tasha agreed. For the first time, she stepped back from the spotlight, focusing on her health and baby. She stayed home, read books, and embraced the calm. It was different, but beautiful. As months passed, Tasha and Jalen grew even closer. They attended parenting classes secretly. Painted the nursery together. Argued about baby names. It was the simple things, burnt pancakes, sleepy cuddles, that made their bond unbreakable. Then came the baby shower. A small event, just friends and a few trusted staff. Evelyn gave a heartfelt speech. "She gave me a seat, not knowing I would give her a son. Now, she's giving us a grandchild." Life is full of beautiful circles. Tasha couldn't stop crying. Not out of sadness, but gratitude. She had started with nothing. No money. No name. Just a heart full of kindness. And look at her now, loved, honored, and carrying a future. The due date drew closer, and with it came unexpected tension. One evening, Tasha felt a sharp pain. Jalen rushed her to the hospital. The doctors said it was early labor. Complications were possible. Fear gripped them both. Jalen didn't leave her side. He held her hand as the monitors beeped, whispering strength into her ears. Hours passed. Tasha was exhausted. But then, a tiny cry filled the room. Their son was born, healthy and perfect. Tasha broke down. Jalen kissed her forehead. He's ours. We made him. The nurses handed them the baby, and for the first time, they felt complete. Bringing the baby home was a whole new adventure. Sleepless nights. Diaper disasters. But every cry was a blessing. Tasha often stared at her son, amazed. I used to clean strangers' messes, now I'm building a life of my own. Jalen, surprisingly, was hands-on. Bottle feedings. Diaper changes. Lullabies off-key. He did it all, refusing to let his status get in the way of being a father. Evelyn moved in temporarily to help. She doted on the baby endlessly. In one quiet moment, Tasha whispered, "This all started because of you, Evelyn. I gave you a seat, and you gave me a life." Evelyn held her close. "You didn't just give me a seat, my dear. You gave me a reason to believe in people again." The baby grew fast, and so did their little family. Jalen surprised Tasha one evening with a small velvet box. She opened it to find a simple but elegant ring. "I've loved you since the airport. I just didn't know it yet," he said. "Will you marry me, not for show, not for power, but for us?" Tasha cried. Not because of the ring, but because of the journey. "Yes," she whispered. 1,000,000 times yes. They kissed, their baby gurgling between them, blissfully unaware of how powerful that moment was. Their wedding was private, peaceful, and perfect. No media. No show. Just vows spoken from the heart. Two souls, once strangers, now bound by fate, love, and a seat at the airport. Years passed, but they never forgot how it all began. Every anniversary, Jalen and Tasha visited that same airport. They'd sit on the same bench, sometimes with their child, sometimes just the two of them, holding hands and smiling at strangers. They even started a small habit, offering their seat to someone else, watching quietly to see how the kindness rippled. It became their family tradition. A symbol of how small moments create huge miracles. Tasha would often tell her son, "Kindness doesn't cost anything, but it can change everything. I gave up a seat once, and I gained the whole world." Now, Tasha is known not for her rise from cleaner to billionaire's wife, but for her unwavering grace. When asked about her story, she simply says, "I gave my seat to a tired woman." That's it. The rest? Destiny handled it. Jalen never lets her forget how she changed his world. "You taught me that strength wears kindness like a crown," he says. "You saved my mother. Then saved me." And so, their story lives on, not in tabloids or headlines, but in the hearts of those who believe that even the smallest acts of compassion can lead to the grandest love stories. All it takes is one seat.